Hey, welcome everybody to our third episode of the Voices for Blogging podcast. Tonight's a special episode. This is kind of our little express episode, NFL Week 7 picks. We just kind of want to go through some of our thoughts for this weekend's games, and hopefully it provides some insight, and hopefully we continue on our hot streak.
You're on a hot
Royce,
streak.
how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I actually well, I take that back. I'm not actually doing that great. I'm on a lukewarm streak.
Hey, we're 5-2. We're okay. We're okay.
Yeah. But I think my picks this week will be better.
All right. Well, what are certain games you're looking at so far, just for the week? Not necessarily your bets, but the ones you were considering going into this week when you're looking at all the lines.
I looked at a bunch of games. There's a lot of pretty tight games, I think, that could go either way, actually. And I think the spread reflects that. I mean, there are a number of games that were -1 basically, or maybe a field goal. So I think there's going to be some there's definitely going to be some competitive games this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that I actually started looking at were actually the games where primarily I think the offenses are going to be overmatched for the other team's offenses. Typically, I don't like betting on big spreads, but in this case, especially with teams that are really good and have a pretty good offense and pretty decent defense, especially against a team that is not as competitive offensively, and maybe their defense isn't as good. I think there's a chance for blowouts there. So that's where I'm kind of looking at.
So you're talking specifically about that Buffalo New York Jets game, aren't you?
Actually, I'm staying away from that game.
So
and I would have if they had even kept well, no, I'm just gonna stay away from that game in general. I don't trust.
I mean, as a whole, double-digit spreads in NFL they don't usually go well if you play the favorite. And then and the rest of the time, if you're playing the underdog, you want to puke the whole time you're watching that game, because all you're doing that whole time is holding onto your ass, because you put money behind a loser. It's just like, in this case, you're gonna put money behind Joe Flacco and Frank Gore. I don't know, I can't do that.
Yeah, you're basically. You start the game down 2 touchdowns already.
Right.
If they score an early touchdown, now you're down 21.
Right. So I was looking at that game, and my angle on that game was this is a get right game for Buffalo. This is a couple games in a row where they haven't looked very well, haven't looked very good. New York's in the process of completely cleaning house, letting Le'Veon Bell go, and supposedly more of the guys that are on the roster now are the guys that the current GM and Adam Gase want around. I don't know what that means really, because it's not like Adam Gase's record is that sterling really when it comes down to it. Probably one of the most overrated coaches in the NFL. But I think the strategy I like most of the time with these double-digit spreads is to look at the first half. Last week that I did that with Miami. I didn't want to make that my pick last week, but that was the thing where I played that on the side. I played the first half, and in the end, it didn't matter. They actually covered their double-digit spread.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. As a whole, those games are kind of stay-away games. Like, the Patriots have had 17, 14, 15-point spreads a lot in the last 5 years. And if they covered, they barely covered. Like, you were holding on to your butt to the very end. I mean, you're right, though. There's so many games that are in the 2 to 3 to 4 range this week. You look at a lot of division games now. We're getting to that point where we're going to see a lot more divisional type games, and those games tend to be a little tighter.
Yeah,
because they know each other so well.
Yeah, and then there's one game that I could not, no matter how much if I even wanted to, but I would never bet on, is the Rams-Bears game.
I think that game was completely meant for you on Monday night.
Double whammy, stay away.
Yeah, I mean, you stated your theory in our last episode that you just should never bet on teams you follow.
Nope.
And so the Rams and the Bears completely qualify for those kind of characteristics of a teams you follow. But if you had to pick a winner in that game, who would you pick?
Gosh, if I had to pick a winner in that game, I would probably go with, I think, Chicago. The defense seems like it's pretty good. I mean, the Rams haven't had, other than their offensive games against like bad teams,
Yeah.
they haven't really moved the ball that well. And Chicago's defense is pretty good. And with, like I said, with Nick Foles headed to the Super Bowl, man.
Do you think there's a shrine in the Bears locker room for Nick Foles, like there was in Philly? Like, kind of like a Serrano, Jobu kind of shrine in there.
I don't know if there is, but it's going good so far.
I mean, the dude's not Russell Wilson magic, but the dude's got some magic. Like he's got something. Like
he can throw the football. I mean, he was good in Philly when he was starting, and then he was good when he came back. Right, obviously. I mean, he can play, and he might be the most solid quarterback the Bears have had in a long time. I mean, I think Jay Cutler is probably the most talented, but he was just pretty erratic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Foles puts the air under the ball really well. He's really good about throwing it out there, throwing guys open, like you talked about last time. And he's leadership. I think the rumors that the Philly players liked him better than Carson Wentz, probably true. Probably true. And it also helps that he won a Super Bowl for them. But, I mean, just it seems like he wins over the locker room pretty well everywhere he goes, recently anyway.
Yeah.
But is that the debut of your dog, by the way, on this podcast? You want to introduce your dog?
There's two. They both play off each other. One is an angry little lady, and the other one is just a young pup. So it was probably both of them.
That's a lot of feistiness in one house, man.
Yeah, one's name, the girl's name Leilani, and the boy's name is Jasper.
Nice.
So Jasper's my buddy.
That's your dog?
He's not my dog, but he likes to hang out with me a lot. He's our dog. Pretty much.
All right, man. Let's get back to the picks, man. Are you ready to kind of talk about the ones that you're gonna go with this week?
I am ready to talk about the ones I'm going to go with. So, like I said before, I mean, I was looking at a lot of games. A lot of them are going to be close. The one that I thought that, or at least my first pick that I thought that the team could really cover the spread is actually the Chiefs.
You're going to do that 9.5, huh?
I'm going to do that 9.5 because even though it looks like it's going to be cold there, I still think that the Chiefs are going to score a lot of points. And even if they don't, I don't think the Broncos are.
The Broncos can't put up points. They
can't. They cannot put up points. Their offensive is inconsistent. And the Chiefs have so many weapons, man. And regardless of whether they're going to run it on the ground, as they showed last game, or throw it through the air, I mean, they have too many guys. They have too many pieces that make them really dangerous.
It didn't take very long for Andy Reid to make the adjustment to the teams that are trying to rush 3 and drop 8 or rush 2 and drop 9.
Yeah.
It didn't take him too long to make that adjustment and just kind of show them, okay, guys, now we're ready. What are you going to do now? Like, it's kind of one of those things where when you play the Chiefs now, after watching last week, you're like, all right, so what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to stop the run? Are we going to live with these gashes? Are we going to live with these 12-yard, 15-yard gash runs? Well, I mean, the Giants did it in the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. Thurman Thomas went crazy that year. That game where Bill Belichick famously rushed 2 and dropped 9 in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And Thurman Thomas had the day of his life, but they didn't score. They couldn't get in the end zone. So, and when you look at the Chiefs' last game against the Bills, I mean, in the end, it came down to really a couple of Josh Allen moments, really, that blew that game open. So they really could have been in the game if Josh Allen didn't show the tendencies and commit the mistakes he made last year. I mean, I felt like I was watching last year's Josh Allen, not the guy who started the year pretty strong this year.
He started the year pretty strong. I think what showed up in the last game was just his inaccuracies.
Yeah, and his decision making.
Yeah, which I think is also the same thing that's going to happen with the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Lock has a lot of the same tendencies, really.
Yep.
And they're coming off a big win, and young teams come off a big win. Sometimes they don't know how to handle that. Going into New England and beating Patriots, yes, it's a much different Patriots team. But, it's Cam Newton that just wasn't sharp. Cam Newton on that game, if he's on his game, the Patriots probably win that game.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think it's just coming
2 weeks off, barely practicing. It's the most fascinating thing that's happening in New England right now. Belichick, the guy who thrives on practice and work, they're not allowed to practice. All the COVID issues they've had, they haven't practiced very much in the last 2 weeks, which is why I entertained the Patriots game today. I entertained possibly giving the 2. I entertained the thought, but I just can't because I think that for this year, any team hit by COVID pretty hard, it's going to take about 2 weeks for them to recover as a team. I mean, I think the Patriots kind of showed that. Just because practice gets screwed up, travel gets screwed up.
There's a lot of timing on those offensive routes.
Correct. And when you got a new quarterback, it makes it even worse. And that's why, like, this week, I'm not going to touch the Raiders Tampa game. The Raiders are in a position where they already got moved out of the Sunday night game, so they're moved to the afternoon slot for Sunday. I'm guessing probably this game's probably not going to get played to Tuesday or Wednesday, because there's a potential that the whole Raiders offensive line is going to be out for COVID reasons.
Yeah.
So, and we don't know, right? And this is the hard thing about doing this show on Thursday. We won't know. So, for the show, but even for kind of what my developing theory is about COVID right now is I'm just not going to bet on teams that are affected by COVID.
Yeah, it's going to take them a game or two to get timing back and get game shape.
Yeah. And just get healthy get healthy again. And you never know, when if it's the big offensive lineman guys, the bigger overweight guys that are getting hit by COVID, we actually don't know how hard it's going to hit them, right? Because just speaking generally about COVID, it's a comorbidity to have obesity. And Trent Brown's a big boy. Trent Brown's a very big boy. So I hope I wish the best for everybody, of course, that gets COVID. Hopefully these guys don't get it seriously and they can bounce back and get back to it. What else you got? So one of your picks is the Chiefs. Is that Jasper wanting to say hi again?
That is Jasper wanting to say hi again. So yeah, one of my picks is the Chiefs, and my second pick is the Sea Chickens.
You're going Hawks. You're gonna give the hook.
I'm gonna give the field goal.
The line. Yep. No, it's a hook. It's 3.5 right now.
Yeah.
You're gonna give the 3.5.
I'm gonna give the 3.5.
So you got Chiefs minus 9.5.
Yep.
And the Seahawks minus 3.5. Tell me about the Seahawks game.
3.5. Yep. I'm gonna ride Dangerous Wilson.
Why not the over?
Honestly, I was watching the Cardinals play last week. I don't know if they're gonna score that many points. That was my concern with that, actually.
I mean, it's pretty high. It's 56.
Although Seattle's defense hasn't been that great, I mean, I still
no, that's an understatement, right?
Yeah, I still feel like
terrible.
They'll get enough stops where
they've
been giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards.
Yeah, they're playing the game where they're just gonna outscore you at the end. They're gonna win on the last possession.
Yep.
That's just kind of how they've been playing.
Yeah, I just felt that
just hoping for that big play on defense.
Yeah, I just felt that 8 touchdowns. Especially if you're expecting the Cardinals to score, like 3 or 4, that'd be possible. But I just think it's too much. I don't think they're gonna score that much.
I mean, at the same time, I do have to say, I believe both the Cardinals and the Seahawks are almost near the bottom in pass defense this year. I know the Seahawks are definitely near the very bottom, and the Cardinals aren't that far behind.
No, they're not.
They don't give much to tight ends because that linebacking core, for the Cardinals is pretty solid, along with Budda Baker at safety.
Yeah.
But as a whole, they give up big plays. I mean, I believe Seattle is at the very bottom in pass defense, and they don't have. I don't think they have the kind of speed sometimes that might make it hard for them to cover some of these Cardinal receivers.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting pick, man. That's a strong move there. I kind of thought if I played that game, I didn't pick that game. I probably would have steered for the over, looking for a game that's going to end somewhere in the 30s for both teams.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that 38 to 34, 33 kind of range.
When I looked at it, the teams that the Cardinals scored 30 plus points against, were teams that were not that great on defense. They did it against the Jets. They did it against Cowboys.
Right. But that's my point.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Yeah.
But that's my point, though. I think you're thinking of Seattle's defense's reputation versus the reality.
Maybe I am. Yeah.
They're 32nd in the league against the pass, and I believe the Cardinals are 31st. I believe
they're pretty bad too.
I believe they're 31 and 32 if I'm not mistaken.
But I mean, they have played some pretty pass happy teams too,
which the Cardinals can do.
The Seahawks, the Cardinals can, but I'm assuming they'd have a lot of practice against running quarterbacks. In practice. So hopefully they'll be able to connect. They'll be able to contain I can't think of his name off the top of my head now.
You talking about Kyler? You
Kyler
talking about
Murray,
Kyler
yeah,
Murray?
Kyler Murray.
I mean, I think right now, you know, one thing to remember about Russell Wilson against the Cardinals, though, he tends to have pretty big games against the
Yeah.
Cardinals. I want to say there was a game a few years ago where he ran for almost 200 yards against the Cardinals. Like it was just a monster game. It was
Yeah.
if he didn't run for 200, it was like 180 yards, and he ran for like 2 touchdowns, and he threw for 3 more. It was an insane game, and I only remember that well because he was my fantasy quarterback that day. And
Yeah.
like I want to say it was like 50 points that he got for me that day.
Then you should know then.
It was somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But that, you know, I mean, the Cardinals, that was a big win though for them on Monday night. You know, that's a national TV game. Yeah, it was a hapless Cowboys team, but they did what they're supposed to do against a team that's junk. You know, that isn't played well. Blew them out, just dominated them and blew them out.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. Here's the last 4 scores of the Seattle-Arizona games. They have been Arizona 27, Seattle 13, Seattle 27, Arizona 10, Seattle 27, Arizona 24, and Seattle 20, Arizona 17. So they've all been low scoring and pretty close games.
So you're gonna go with the road favorite giving the hook on the 3.
Yep.
I think that's a strong play, man. That's a stronger play than I could probably pull on that. I think maybe a 2.5. That 3.5. I just hate the hook on a 3. The hook on a 3 for a team that likes to win games on the last possession of a game. That gets pretty tough.
You're basically betting on like one extra touchdown versus one extra field goal, right? That's kind of what it boils down to.
Correct. Yeah. Be interesting. I mean, I think this is the weakest both teams have played on defense. I think that's where I get stuck on. But I will say this. The last 3 games, the Seahawks have had pretty higher end like over-unders, like mid-50s or so and higher. They haven't hit any of them.
Wow. Yeah.
They didn't hit any of them. I think that Vikings game, they didn't hit it. They got close and they didn't hit it because they started that game so slow. All right. It's all right. So Royce's two picks so far this week are me, KC minus 9.5 and Seattle on the road. Both teams. You're going 2 road favorites. 3.5 with the Seahawks and 9.5 with KC. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the games I'm looking at, I was looking at 4 games, and I wanted to whittle that down to at least to 2. At the most, I'll play 3 of them. One of the games we kind of talked about already. I'm looking at the halftime line for the Buffalo Bills, and right now the halftime line is at -7. I really believe this is just a get right kind of game, like I was saying before for the Bills. I mean, you can hear the talking heads. They're saying, "Here we go, same old Bills. Here we go. It's just they're gonna kind of drop." Everyone's so high on Miami right now because Miami kind of starting to feel like they're on a roll. But, you know, they're going to bring in Tua to play 2 weeks from now after the bye week. You know, and everyone's kind of seeing some of the tendencies that Josh Allen has had the last couple games, reminding them of kind of how reckless he can be with the ball sometimes. But I will have to say they are still playing the Jets. And and it's not much of a road game. It's an in-state game, in-division game, and they're playing the Jets. I feel pretty comfortable giving a 7 on that. I think that halftime score is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 17-20 to 3. So 17-20 for the Bills and 3 for the Jets.
Yeah.
And then I can see the Bills just kind of slugging the way through that game, and it's going to be really tight on the game line. I will completely stay away from that game line. It is run up all the way now to 13. I believe it opened at 10.5, and it's up to 13 now. There's no way. Yeah. There's no way. Too hot.
That was a game I was looking at too. Obviously, just because it is the Jets and are a strong team, or they have been a strong team this year.
Right.
But what concerns me is that the Jets haven't won a game yet. I don't think most of the times in general, NFL teams are good enough to win a game or 2, right? Regardless, and you know anything can happen in football on any given day.
And in a division.
In a division, right?
In a division game. You're talking about a division game.
With Buffalo, you know, like I think their defense is good. The defense is solid. You know, is their offense as solid? Not really.
They got weapons. I mean, they got weapons, though.
They have weapons, but...
They have weapons. Stephon Diggs Stephon Diggs is producing pretty well. I want to say Diggs is what third in the league in receiving yards.
Yeah.
Um,
The big
I think
question, yeah, I mean, again, the big question is Josh Allen.
Mhm.
Is he going to have enough to move the sticks, get
Right.
first downs, and score?
But I think
And
if there's a game you want to show that and get back on track. I mean,
for
this is
sure,
actually
yeah,
this is a must win for the Bills in many ways. You know, they don't want to go to 4-3. They want to go to 4-3 after such a hot start.
yeah,
And because I think if you lose to the Jets, you know, after the last two games that you've played,
it's
man,
bad.
things change in the locker room pretty fast.
That is bad.
And
Yeah,
yeah, so I kind of feel like they'll come up on top. So that's one of my picks.
yeah.
Um,
I think the first half pick is a good bet because they're gonna have to come out and punch him in the mouth.
yeah,
Like
and I
Buffalo
think they
would have to
will.
do that. Yeah,
I think they will because they want to get that running game on track. Moss and Singletary haven't been able to really do that this year. They also haven't like really committed to the run that much. They're kind of just giving the ball to Josh Allen and showing his kind of judgment is a little sketchy at times. I think they're going to use this game to reestablish the run, punch the Jets in the mouth, and you know they'll go up early and then you know it will kind of fade towards the end. But I just don't see the Jets doing much. The other game I was looking at, this is where I might end up having 4 picks, is I was looking at the Lions and the Falcons.
Lions and the Falcons.
Yeah, and the bait, I feel like the bait line in this game is the over under. We just know, you know, we both of these teams have a propensity to start strong and come out big and then give up points in the second half.
Yeah,
So all that says play the over at 55. But I feel like that's bait. You
yeah.
know, I can't take the bait. There's no way, and that's what's going to stop me from having three bets this week. But I will say, I did like what I saw with Atlanta last week, and I do like what I'm hearing coming out of. You know, there's a lot of reports about Raheem Morris kind of not being as much of a player's coach as Dan Quinn was, putting a little more pressure. You got the owner of the team putting pressure on Matt Ryan, and they responded pretty well last week.
Yeah.
Um,
They
and
they
I
have
and
good, they still have good pieces. I mean,
they got studs. You know, what are you gonna do? You know, it's Detroit's not good against the pass or the run. So Todd Gurley can have one of his 4 great games of the year, and then do nothing for the other 12. You know, I think he's gonna have a big game. They're gonna use him out of the backfield as receiver and run, and all the wide receivers are back. Calvin Ridley's on fire this year.
yeah,
He
he
is
is. He definitely
is. How do you guard against them? Like, how do you defend them? You know, your number 3 is Russell Gage, who's been playing well, and then Hayden Hurst is there, catch touchdowns in the red zone at tight end. Like, it's a really dangerous offense. You have a head coach that coach both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball on this team. So he has a relationship with everyone on his team. You hear people complain about sometimes if you have an offensive-minded head coach, they don't have much of a relationship with the defensive side. Morris has been on both sides. He at heart is a defensive coach too. So I think some of that showed last weekend. And we have the University of Hawaii alum running the defense for the Falcons, Jeff Ulbrich. So I had to throw that in there. Got to throw a little Hawaii love in there.
Yeah.
We won't talk about his little incident at UCLA, but other than that, you know, it was a good showing, good bounce back showing after your coach gets fired.
Yeah, but you know how you stop Atlanta? Move to the second half.
That's the same problem with Detroit. So
Yeah.
Something's got to give,
Give.
and I'm gonna take the home team. So I'm gonna take Atlanta -2.5. I mean, so that's my second pick.
Now you got me thinking that maybe the better bet is the under on the second half.
Potentially, because or the over, depending on how the first half plays out.
Yeah.
If the first half plays out where it's slow, absolutely playing the over in the second half.
They got to score at some point, right?
Both defenses have proven they're going to give it up. You know, it is what it is. The game that I thought about for like 5 seconds was the Washington Football Club and Dallas.
Yeah, you better watch out. You're going to get canceled.
I know, man. We're going to get shut down after 3 shows.
Shut down.
Me no disrespect with that. It's just habit.
Football team.
that game is, you know, that game is a pick'em.
It is. You know, I thought last week that Dallas would have a better showing, even with Andy Dalton, but he definitely looked like his timing is off. You know, his
Well, he hasn't practiced.
yeah,
I
he
mean,
hasn't practiced, right? He hasn't played in games in a
right?
while, and
And no training camp, right? He's again same. This is that thing with the new quarterback, new
yeah.
team, no training camp.
So
So no
yeah, that's
timing.
my only concern with this game is that, you know, how is he going to show up? Is he going to show up as the Andy Dalton with his timing down, with, you
Right,
know, comfortable with the offense, making the
right,
plays that we know he can, or is he going to be the one that was playing last week where
right,
inconsistent, was missing
right.
numbers, you know, like just
Yep,
didn't look like he was
yep.
comfortable, and
Well,
that's the biggest question.
and then the discourse you're starting to hear come out of that locker room, where they're put steer, I guess reportedly turning on McCarthy and Nolan, turning against the coaching staff already. It's 6 games, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
who
so,
knows? Who
but it's
knows?
so classic. But it's so classic Dallas, right? It's just the drama that comes with Dallas, right? I mean, I'm a Giants fan, and of course, I have a sentimental slight towards the Seahawks. On top of that, I mean, the Cowboys. And it's entertaining. Let's just put it that way. But it was tempting for me to take the Cowboys on this game because I think talent-wise, they just have so much more. And Kyle Allen just looks terrible at quarterback, and Alex Smith's not ready to step in.
Yeah.
They definitely don't look like they ever want to bring Haskins back in at this point. But
Wow. Yeah.
and it just doesn't seem that way. But at the same time, yeah, I'm gonna lay down because I want to watch the Cowboys for one more week. I want to see if they can bounce back. Because if they look flat again, and historically, the Redskins, here I said it again. Washington plays Dallas really tight.
Yeah.
No matter how good their teams are, they
Yeah.
always play them tight.
They usually do. It's like a rivalry game.
It is. It's an old school rivalry game. No matter how bad the Washington football team is, they'll put up a fight.
Yeah. It's like UCLA, USC.
Yep. At least the first half is entertaining, and then at some point in time, someone runs away with it. So I'm gonna lay that one down. So my third pick, I'm gonna go with 3 this week.
3 picks.
I'm going 3. Riding the wave, baby.
Wow.
You know what? 4-0 the last 2 weeks.
You got to play the hot hand.
I mean, come on now. What happens when you play blackjack? At some point in time, that bet better get raised before you don't cash in on that run.
When they bring in the closer and shut it all down.
Yeah. When they bring in the cooler, it's over. So maybe I'm going to be my own cooler this week. Who knows? But the game I like and the team I like playing overs on this year, and I've been doing it, and it's because of offensively, this team just shows no fear, and they just keep coming. Whether or not they keep scoring, whether they score or not, they're always efforting to do it. They're always making progress down the field, taking chances. So I'm looking at the Bengals and Browns game, over under 50.5. I'm taking the over in that game.
Wow, yeah, I was looking at the game too. The only thing I didn't like about that is I just don't trust the Bengals.
Well, I think that's why I want to play the over. Their defense is just not good, and so the Browns will look better. They'll bounce back after that game against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the Browns will score. It's
Right.
just with Burrow at quarterback.
I love it though. I love
it. Sometimes he doesn't, right? And he's a rookie, so he's going to be inconsistent.
What I like about him though, he keeps putting it up.
Yeah.
The last game they played, week 2, they put 65 points up combined. So of course the fly in the ointment here is the Browns' star running backs are hurt. Kareem Hunt is playing, but he has a strained adductor, strained groin, so that's going to make it tough for any running back. The Bengals don't play defense, but at the same time, the Bengals just keep coming at you. Even if they're down 20 points, they're going to try to score. So I think in today's NFL, 50 points really isn't that high. Scoring's up so much right now because it's just such we got to really be careful about looking at this year the same way we look at every other year in the past, because it's just not the same. And I think that helps a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who's willing to just be a gunslinger and get out there. But you watch him, man. When you blitz that kid, he's money. He doesn't panic. He's cool, man. They got something in him, and they got so much talent in receiver. AJ Green might be the 3rd receiver. He might be wide receiver 3 right now on that team.
He's a slot receiver now at this point.
I mean, because you got Boyd and Higgins from Clemson, a rookie from Clemson.
Yeah.
That kid's showing up. And then whenever John Ross doesn't tear his hamstring, he's that deep threat, and they can open up the field for you. And then you have Joe Mixon, who'll be solid at running back. So I mean, they have so much on offense. I feel like, this game will probably be Cleveland. I would love to see the Cincinnati win. I would love to be wrong on that, but it's probably going to be Cleveland. I would think the final score is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 34-27.
Yeah. So just for context, the last game that they played was September 18th, and it was Cleveland 35, Cincinnati 30.
It was a Thursday night game, and yes, there wasn't Philman Burrow yet, but like I said, it's been 6 weeks of watching him play. I don't see anybody slowing him down yet. It's too hard. He's got so many weapons out there, and he makes good, solid decisions. It looks like he takes his time and he goes through his progressions, and he's going to be fun to watch over the next few years, especially this year, to see them grow. They're competitive. Look at their scores in their games. Outside of maybe one or two blowouts, they're pretty competitive. I'm going to go with that. So my 3 picks this week would be Cincy over 50.5, Atlanta at home, giving the 2.5. And then my last pick would be the Buffalo Bills first half -7.
Nice.
So that's 5 picks, man.
Well, you got the hot hand, so you can take more than 2.
Right, but I could also mess with my winning percentage pretty quick this week.
Nah, this is the heat check. Every now and then
That's what it is.
You got to throw one up.
Hey, this is a 27-foot 3-pointer going up right now. Just seeing how hot I am right now. Just gonna put it up there and see how it goes. This is our first show where we actually are giving our picks, kind of our thoughts, as opposed to just posting on our Instagram page. Yeah. By the way, visit us on our Instagram page at Voices for Blogging. Be on there, follow us. The link for the podcast is there. But yeah, man, this has been fun so far. I look forward to doing more shows like this. These kind of express shows, these quick shows.
And we'll see how the weekend goes.
Awesome. So with that, anything else you got there, Royce?
Nothing else except that I will be in Vegas on Sunday. Well, driving up to Vegas.
That's exciting, man. After the games are done, or you're driving in the morning?
I'll probably drive in the morning or early afternoon.
Yeah, listen to the games on the radio.
Yep.
With that thought of Royce driving the desert by himself, we're going to leave you guys. Good luck, everybody. And like always, for entertainment purposes only. We'll see you when you see you. And, take care, everybody.